Seibs, I want to start with Thursday night. Now, you're a mad Para fan, so were you a little bit conflicted?
I was, mate. It was a tough one. So we had footy training. I was at Vicky Park and I wrapped things up nice and quick so we could get home and I could watch it. I am a mad Eels fan, but I was going for Manly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually tipped Manly in the footy tips. I legitimately thought they were going to win. And when it got close, I thought I might have been a little bit more conflicted. But in the end, I did want Manly to win because I think Para will come good. They're going to start getting a couple of players back this week, so they should start winning a few games. It's been a tough start for them, but again, for my brother and Manly to get a couple of wins straight up, I think it's important.
Well, your brother couldn't have asked for a better start, really, and they've been really good. Defensively, it was a bit crazy, that game.
Yeah, it was, mate. I wonder, looking at the results for the rest of the weekend, I just wonder how much of an impact the heat had. Because there was a couple of games like that where it just went bizarre for the last 10, 15 minutes. Dropped balls, missed tackles, just purely because of the heat.
Yep. And one thing I wanted to talk to you about was in relation to your brother. There's, to me, a lot of similarities to this Manly side to the Souths team that he took over. And when he took over at South, GI missed a lot of the previous year. Tom missed a lot of the previous year here. And a dominant half at the time, Adam Reynolds, Daly Cherry Evans. There's a lot of key similarities there.
Yeah, there is. You could argue Sam Burgess is very similar to Jake Trbojevic, a strong leader, different type of player, but that strong leadership, there certainly is some similarities, and I think South had really been struggling for the couple of years before Anthony took over there, and the style of attack that they played with, they still play with it now. They still have those shifts out to the left and the block for block shape, but it's not your normal block plays. There's a little variation on it, and for the keen eye, people will notice what they do, and it's all about where the lead runner is and exactly who they're trying to get at, and I can see Manly are doing similar things.
Josh Schuster's gone from a how will he go to how far he can take this team, hasn't he?
He was good, wasn't he? I think a couple of times a little show and go from him wouldn't go astray, but the way that he can square up and go straight at the line and manipulate his body so he's getting that pass out the back, and I know people say it's a no-look pass, but a bit of peripheral vision there. I'm sure he knows where it's going and he's got an eye on where the target is. But just the way he can, it's like a stutter step, isn't it? Like he stops and then he goes again, and it's really strange.
The one thing about Manly that I notice is, and a lot of teams don't, for some reason, they look fit. They look ready to go. And, you only have to look at Ola Kawatu, his body shape, compared to previous seasons. He looks like he's lost 10 kilos at least.
Yeah, they look hard, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and we'll get onto a few teams later on, but there's a few teams that I think are really struggling with that. How do you look at that?
Yeah, I agree, definitely. I think the Tigers look a little bit soft, isn't the right word, but they don't look physically as fit as what some of the other teams do.
Yeah.
I actually think, excluding Bradman Best, who looks like he's been carved out of stone this year, the Knights don't look like they're in great shape. Something's going on with the Cowboys, the way that they're falling away late in games as well. Whether or not they got a bit complacent over the off-season and didn't work as hard, I'm not sure.
That, for me, is the big one, isn't it? Because that was their strength last year. They come into the season rock hard, fit, ready to go. But we've seen it 2 weeks in a row now. The last 15 minutes, they've been totally gassed.
Not only that, remember week 1, Raiders nearly got them. It was 18-0, wasn't it? And
yes.
Then,
18-0, come back, 18-all. Parramatta, you think they'll come good? They still have a couple of tough games.
Yeah, I know, and you've probably heard the big sigh then. I hope they come good, mate. Madison's back this week. He's going to make a big difference because you get quality players back. And again, if anyone is in a top 30 in an NRL team, they're a good footballer.
Yes.
There's not one rubbish player floating around. But if you get someone of the quality of Madison back, Lane comes back, then 2 blokes who aren't quite as strong, then they all of a sudden, drop onto the bench, and a couple of weaker guys drop out of the team, and all of a sudden you're looking a bit better. But they need to get a couple of wins up. I think for Para, they should be thinking about round 10. If they can come out of round 10 and be 5 from 5, I think they'll be fine.
Oh yeah, that would be a dream because they've got Penrith this week and then the Roosters the week after.
Yeah,
Tough games.
that's right.
They're coming off buys as well, which doesn't make it any easier.
The one benefit with the Roosters having a bye this week is a couple of those guys that have got suspended or will get suspended out of the weekend.
That's true.
They won't serve their match before they hit para. So
that's true. Move on to the Dolphins. They beat the Knights. Knights busted.
Yeah, I don't know if you watched that game.
Yeah.
I thought the first 60 minutes was pretty awful quality.
Yeah.
From both sides.
I agree. And the Dolphins go up against the Broncos this week. I think the Broncos might do a number on them.
Well, it's a true test for the Dolphins, isn't it? I mean, you know, the Knights, they've struggled and they got 6 or 7 of their best 17 out of action. So it's really...
And it's not a very good 17 to start with.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. And again, I can't continue to criticise the Dolphins or say that the Dolphins are going to be bottom 4 if they keep winning.
Yeah.
Because reality is, I've got both of these teams not making my top 8. After this weekend, one of them is going to be 4 from 4.
Yeah, that's right.
And then 21 games to go after that. You've probably only got to win 8. Yeah, 8 from 21.
Yeah. And the Dolphins test comes in the fact that their original 17 might be okay, but after that, there's not a lot there. And particularly now, Felice Kafusi gets a suspension. So now this is where we start to see the attrition come in.
It does. The one thing, though, which I might have dismissed them a bit quickly, because I look at the side that the Capras put out on the field on the weekend, and, you know, Milford, I think we'll all agree that Milford is the epitome of rocks and diamonds, and
yes,
it's more rocks than diamonds, but he still has played State of Origin. He's experienced. Jared Wallace, I do not rate Jared Wallace a great deal, you know, at his age and how he's played the last couple of years. But again, he's a couple of 100-game NRL player. He's played Origin, so maybe the depth isn't quite as bad as what we first thought. Because, you know, if they lose a couple of blokes, well, there's 2 ready-made first graders about to come back in. Herman Essa again. You know, he's probably played 100 NRL games, so there's a little bit of depth there, a little bit more than what I thought.
Where do you rate Newcastle at? Do you think Adam O'Brien survives this year?
Oh, mate, I do not like wishing that upon any coach, because obviously, you know, it's very tough for them, but it's hard to see how, if they continue to go the way that they are, that they can't make a change there. You know, they have to change something, don't they?
It's the tough thing for them, and I really like Adam O'Brien. I think he's a good coach, but the problem for them is they've got the Raiders this week, who I do believe the Raiders are a good team. They're just,
they are
useless at stages. They got Manly after that. They're not going to win that. They got the Warriors, who
knows what you're going to get.
Who knows? And then they got the Cowboys after that in Parramatta, and then they go into a bye.
They could easily lose all of those.
I can see them being 1-8,
yeah,
and going into that bye, and some discussions being had. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, at least one coach gets sacked every year.
Yeah, that's right. And again, you know, you talk to different people about coaching styles and how they approach things. It's 2023 now. People haven't grown up with that confrontational style of coaching or managerial styles or whatever workplace you're in. People don't respond to getting abused and sprayed all the time. So I start to wonder, is it like white noise? You know,
yep.
If you're constantly spraying someone or getting stuck into them, is it just here we go again?
Yeah.
Whereas if they've got to be well timed, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get you 100%. We'll move on to the Roosters and South. This, to me, South Sydney are unbelievable. They like.
Do you mean unbelievable as in freakishly good unbelievable, or unbelievable and you can't get your head around them?
The second.
Yeah.
The second. Because their two most important players, Cody Walker, Latrell Mitchell, their emotional roller coasters during game, particularly Cody,
yep,
is quite. I hate to use the word again, but it's unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
The fact that he can be so annoyed at such little things that put him out of the game for minutes.
So I think you're referring to when he chased Sam Walker for 70 metres across field and another 20 after he passed it just to push him over?
Not only that, but the Suwali try where he just totally played for a penalty.
Yeah, that's right. And he took 2 steps. He almost tackles him, doesn't he?
There was never a penalty there at all. And if he didn't play for that penalty, he was half a shot at getting
Yeah.
it.
At least enough to put pressure on Suwali, who may have second-guessed himself, might have thrown a pass, who knows what happens. I reckon Trent Robinson would have looked at Cody Walker chasing Sam Walker across the field and going out of his way to push him and giving away that penalty. That's when he would have thought, we've got these blokes.
Oh,
we're right here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a big moment for the Roosters because the Roosters haven't had much success against South for years.
And I don't think the Roosters are going well.
No.
They've won 2 games, but
yes.
I still don't think they're going that well.
Yes, and South, to me, they cannot win the comp if that's who their most important players are.
Yeah, I agree. Look, they're down on forwards. I personally think that's their weakness anyway, is their pack. So again, it wouldn't surprise me if Manly beat them this week.
Oh, I do think Manly will win, and they've got they've got a lot of superstars in their team. South Campbell Graham to me is
he's excellent, isn't he?
One of the best centers in the comp, if not the best. And Cook's fallen out of form over the past 2 years. You would say
he's still top 5 hookers in the comp, though.
Of course, but
yeah.
There was a stage he was Australian hooker.
Yeah.
He doesn't get a look in now,
but he's still good. And Cameron Murray is unreal,
outstanding.
He's their best player.
But at the end of the day, you're looking at Latrell and Cody Walker to make a play, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. And you think how easy Latrell made things look the last 6 or 7 minutes when he kicked into gear. You just, if you're a South fan, you just scratch your head and think, why can't you do that from the start?
Absolutely. They've got some problems, South, and I don't know if there's any sort of outside distractions there, but they're not that injured compared to a lot of other teams, but they are just they find a way to blow games so easily.
So I mentioned last week about one of my mates who went to have a good crack at the Dragons to get the spoon.
Yes.
Now this same mate, he's really high on Rabbits to win the comp, and he's a very intelligent footy bloke, and he knows what he's talking about. But I just can't see it. I can't see how you could trust him in a big game. You know, I wouldn't want to play them in a big game. If I was the Eels, going in as an Eels fan, I'd think, oh no, here we go. They could put 40 on you at any point.
Yeah.
But if I was a South fan, I just don't know if I could trust them.
The fact of the matter is, Siebes, to win a grand final, you need to win at least 3 games in a row.
Yep.
Can you trust them to win 3 big games in a row?
Tom, this might sound ridiculous, but can you trust them to win enough games to make the 8?
Well, that's another thing. The competition is tighter than it's ever been.
Yeah, it's too good this year, isn't it?
It is good.
They'll probably win the minor premiership and win the comp. Now we've said that.
We'll look back on this and think we're stooges. But there's problems there. And I've seen a few people tip them to win the grand final. Matty Johns is one that tipped them to win the grand final. I don't see it.
No, I don't. I don't either.
We'll go on to the defenceless teams of the weekend, and that is the Titans and the Storm. Unbelievable. And to me, as a Storm fan, I probably didn't estimate correctly the loss defensively that Bromwich and Kaufusi brought.
Yeah. Even Munster
as well. But the 2 starting back rows, they put Liero in, he's okay, but Katoa, much more of an attacking back rower. So I probably didn't underestimate that. With that being said, 34 points should win you a game.
Yeah, and I thought to myself that I don't know if they're going to score enough points, but I think they'll be able to defend their way to a victory against the Titans.
Yes.
But how on earth did they lose? I didn't see 34 points coming from the Storm.
No.
But I honestly thought that the Titans would be lucky to score 2 tries and they'd grind it out.
Well, the Titans scored 2 or 3 tries off errors of Melbourne, long-range tries. But
they put themselves in a position, didn't they?
Of course. And the one that annoyed me the most was Khan Pereira looks like he's going to be a really talented player for them on the wing. But there was one moment where Will Warbrick was matched up against Khan Pereira, and he was about 8 metres out, and Will Warbrick showed him a metre down the sideline and got beat on the outside. You cannot do that. That is a no-no.
Well, you can see that Warbrick's a rugby union player. Like, he's got that background, the sevens rugby, the show on the sideline and use it as a defender. But I don't know if he's quick enough to do that against some of the wingers that are floating around.
No, and if there's one thing you can't do in that situation, it's get beat on the outside.
Yeah, like, I couldn't believe that. I mean, again, Khan Pereira, he's got some wheels. He's going to be he is a very good player now.
Yep.
But yeah, a couple of those defensive decisions from the Storm are just, you're not used to seeing it, are you?
No, and Bellamy's last year, like, it's very much a matter of how quickly Craig can get all these young guys coached up in a way that they can defend well, isn't it?
Yeah.
The points will come when Pappenhausen comes back, Grant.
Well, they still scored 34.
Exactly,
the points are there.
Exactly. So the points will come. Do you think he can coach them up defensively enough to be back in title contention?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't be ruling him out at all. Obviously, they need to start showing something, but you'd be at this point. You know, we spoke before. Souths, do we trust them? There's no history there of them proving us wrong. Storm have proved everyone wrong for 20 years, even when they started to have the turnover of the big three and whatever you want to call them. But they've still performed. They still put themselves in positions to win games. So until we can go half a season without seeing that, I trust that they'll turn it around.
We mentioned earlier about teams not being fit enough coming into the start of the season. The Cowboys, to me, is the ultimate example of that, and they lost against the Warriors on the weekend, which to me was the most stunning result of the weekend. The Warriors winning in Townsville.
Yeah.
Particularly with how hot it was. You would think the Cowboys would be lapping that up out of any team.
Tom, mate, on Saturday afternoon, my wife Zoe showed me her footy tips, and she had gone Titans, which I actually went the Titans myself. So yeah. I had picked that one. Then she'd gone the Warriors over the Cowboys. And it was halftime of the first game, and I'm thinking, you know what? You've got your upset. There is no way on earth that the Warriors go to Townsville and beat them up there. You've got to change your tip. And she's, believe me, jumped in, changed the tip, and then as every Warriors try was scored, I could just feel the eyes staring at me.
You would think, though, that the Cowboys, out of any team, would be able to adjust to the heat the most.
Definitely. They train in it every day.
Yeah. And do you have concerns there about them for the rest of the season? Because I do.
Yeah, I do. I don't know if they'll make the 8. Yeah. This could be a running joke for us that
absolutely.
My son's into me already. His mates are into me already. I think they tried to say that we picked 12 teams that were going to make the 8, and in our top 4, I had 7. But
yes. But that is how close the competition is. We're sitting here with the Dolphins, who are 3-0, going, they probably won't make the 8.
Sorry, I should say, it wouldn't surprise me if they don't make. I still have them in my 8. It wouldn't surprise me if they miss out.
And there was a lot of talk that they hadn't had much changeover in the roster heading into this year, which is true, and sometimes can be a beneficiary. But I don't see enough X factor in the Cowboys team.
No,
particularly in the spine.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of good.
I rate Dearden so highly. I think he's excellent.
Yeah.
I think Townsend's good. Cotter's, he's good. He's one-dimensional, but he's very good.
Yep.
Drinkwater's their X factor.
Yes.
He's out at the moment, but even when he plays, Drinkwater is man of the match or 2 intercepts and a pass into touch.
Yeah.
You know, that's the style of footy you get with him. So, yeah, you think back last year, a few of those games that they did win were him pulling things out at the last minute and a few freakish plays, and all of a sudden they got on a roll and they had confidence. Now they've lost 2 in a row. Who have they got this week? We'll have to have a look in a minute. But all of a sudden, if they lose 3 straight, there's a lot of pressure on, isn't there?
So the Cowboys have the Titans this week.
Okay. Anything could happen there.
Absolutely.
I'm going to tip the Cowboys, but anything could happen.
There could be a lot of points in that game as well. And Melbourne have West Tigers, so you would think that this is a get-right game.
Yeah, especially considering I think it's Friday, that game, and Tigers played in 35-degree heat yesterday afternoon.
And we're buggered.
Yeah, good luck backing up on Friday. A team under pressure.
On the road.
Yeah, I think Melbourne will smash them.
Broncos St George. I was so close to tipping St George in this game. So close. And at 18-all, with 10 to go, I thought, why didn't I?
I did. And thought to myself the exact same thing with 10 to go. It was... What happened? I do not know what happened. Bit of momentum and...
I actually turned the game off after their first try, so I turned it off at 24-18.
Okay.
So when I looked at later and it was 40-18, I was like, what happened?
It was crazy. The third try, we weren't sure if it was a replay of the try that had just happened before it.
Exactly.
That's how quickly it happened.
Exactly. I've heard some people criticising St George after this performance. On the road, against a Broncos team who, at the moment, is flying. I'm not sure. What more did they expect?
So for 50 of those 70 minutes, Dragons probably were on top.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden, things unravelled, and it was just momentum, and it was like a tidal wave, and the Dragons couldn't stop it. The Broncos have got a lot of players that come from that under-20s nursery. So when the NRL 20s was obviously in its formative years, and then it went for 10, 12 years. But a lot of the guys that are playing for the Broncos right now were a part of those 20s teams. And that's the way that things would always go. So there was a history of 15, 20-minute waves. So all of a sudden, if you're on top, you're flying. It's momentum. Try and stop us. And then when things get tough, that's when all of a sudden it just unravels and you have 15, 20-minute periods of conceding points. Broncos play like that for mine.
What's the flaw with the Broncos? How do you beat them? So if you're the Dolphins this week,
yep,
how do you beat the Broncos?
You got to take them on through the middle. Because Payne Haas and Carrigan are their best players. So you need to find a way to get some reps into them, make sure that they're fatiguing a little bit. Again, they're both freaks with their fitness, so they're going to keep working really hard. But I think you've got to take them on in the middle, try and get a little bit of momentum, and then their weakness is their second rowers and halves defensively. So that's where Dolphins have to attack them on those edges.
It's funny, I spoke to your brother middle of last year, and we actually spoke about Payne Haas, and I brought up Payne and about Steve's time at the Broncos, and he said he's been around a lot of quality forwards, obviously, both down in Melbourne and South, and even rugby union. He mentioned, he said Payne Haas is the guy. He is as far as physical levels.
Yeah, how he can push himself.
Yep.
Yeah, the places that he can take himself, it's phenomenal, isn't it? Like the way he just keeps motoring. Like at times, I honestly reckon every time he goes off for a rest, he doesn't need it. It's just because, we might as well give him a spell. I mean, what else are we meant to do?
He's a front rower.
Yeah, we better give him a spell. Yeah.
Yes. It's it'd be funny to see, like, if they just left him out there for 80 minutes.
I reckon he'd be fine. I think you'd see anything different. He seems to get better as it goes on.
Yeah, that's right.
And Carrigan is unreal.
Yes.
Carrigan is really good.
Yes. And he's future Queensland Australian captain, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Definitely.
Dogs and Tigers. I don't actually read much into the few late tries that the Tigers did. To me, hot day. Bulldogs really had the game won.
Yeah.
I'd never thought that there was a risk that the Tigers were going to win this game.
Well, that was like, we spoke about it already with those couple of games with the heat and just things unravelled. It got weird for 10 minutes and blokes were dropping off tackles or just missing one-on-ones. There was quite a lot of cramping as well in that Thursday night and Friday night game, where blokes were trying to get there, but their body physically wouldn't take them where they needed to go. So have they unlocked something, though, with moving Dewey out of the halves, letting Brooks take control and going from there?
Wakeham was pretty good when he came on. I'm not sure how much to read in this because they were clearly both teams exhausted at the end of that game. Wakeham comes on, fresh half.
Yeah, bit of zip,
ready to go. So
Dewey's... where do you think Dewey's suited? Do you think he's a half or...
Honestly, centre.
Yeah, I think he's a centre fullback too.
Yeah. To me...
He's an awesome footballer, but I don't know if
he's a really good footballer.
I don't know if he's a great half.
Melbourne actually went after him last year, and you could see why. Like he would fit perfectly in a good team.
Yeah.
Adam Dewey, like he wouldn't be out of place in a premiership winning team. But as a 5'8", I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. They got 2 5'8", haven't they? Brooks is a 5'8", really.
I actually thought at the end of last year, and to me, it's a wonder that they didn't try a little bit more. The Tigers, Hooker.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah,
because his running game's his strength, so he can.
I thought it was worth a try.
It's either pass or find some lazy markers and take off, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was worth a try, considering what else are they playing for? They may as well. But I thought Luke Brooks at hooker might be a good shout.
We didn't. We mentioned we spoke about the Knights and Dolphins game, but we didn't bring up Jackson Hastings stirring people up again.
Yes. He's a bit of a troll, isn't he?
Yeah, him and O'Sullivan, who knows what happened there.
Yes,
But
exactly.
yeah.
I don't even know where they would have crossed paths. Maybe
Roosters?
Roosters
Yeah, I
years
reckon
ago?
O'Sullivan would have been a real young bloke there. And
Yeah, but
that's all I can think
geez,
of.
that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. Just back to the Bulldogs. I really like how they're playing.
Yeah, they do look good. I don't know how good, but the last 2 weeks they've played with a style that's exciting to watch, isn't it?
Yeah.
But again, they scored an intercept try, a 100-meter try from a kick. So I don't think their attack is clicking as much as what people think it is.
Yes.
But they do play a very exciting style to watch.
Yes. I think just in my opinion, I think they've got a rotation problem. I think Kickow, he was clearly gone at the end of the game yesterday.
He was,
I'm not sure how much to read into it because of the heat and everyone was gone, but he was clearly cooked.
He did play better yesterday, though.
Yep.
I thought his involvement was a lot more than what it had been, so he probably had pushed himself to fatigue levels. But
And Kickout's funny because about 3 or 4 years ago, I would have said that he was overrated.
yeah,
And like he won Dalian second row of the year or something. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, there's just no way. But now, particularly the back end of the Penrith year last year, obviously, but he's
good.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, he is good.
Yes. We'll go on to the Sharks and Raiders game. Spoke to Josh Hannay at the start of last week. He was scared of this game. He knew that the Raiders were the bogey team. They haven't beaten them in yonks.
Yeah, at home.
And
Staring at none from three.
Yes, and I said, I'm glad you recognise that, Josh. You realise that you guys have to be on here. I'll tip yous now.
Yeah.
Yeah, good work, me. Thank you, Josh. But the Raiders, I truly think there is a good team in the Raiders.
Yeah, there is. That was a typical Raiders win yesterday, wasn't it?
Yes.
Just look good, yuck, find a way to win.
If they can be at a 500 level till Savage gets back,
yeah.
Am I crazy to think that they could push towards the top four?
Top four, I think, is probably a bit out. Who knows? I think top four is a bit out of reach.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to be one of those 10 teams. So by round 10, I think we'll have a really good indication of who is our best 4 or 5 teams in the comp we're looking at.
Yeah.
Then I believe that there'll be 10 teams playing for 3 or 4 spots.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think they'll be one of those.
I was just talking to Aaron, who I work with here this morning, and it wouldn't shock me in the last round if a team's on 9th and they get a win, they go to 6th.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, or a team. Well, what happened last year with Brisbane, but a team could be sitting pretty in the top 4 with a month to go and drop all the way out.
Yes, absolutely. And it doesn't take much. You know, you put together a good month of football.
Yeah,
and
you win
you're
4
right
straight.
back in.
Yeah,
you're right back in. They needed the win, regardless of Raiders. The Sharks, there's concerns there at the Sharks. Their defence has been ordinary going back to the end of last year.
Again, like the Cowboys. How many of those wins last year were because people just were all of a sudden, oh, hang on, they're a lot better than what we thought they were going to be, and they sneak up on a few teams and shock them and win. All of a sudden you win 3 in a row or 4 from 5, confidence is up and you're flying.
Yeah. Defensively is still a problem for the Sharks because I'm just going to go into it. Let's go into the Sharks because this goes back to the end of last year. I remember they lost I think it was 30-all at some stage against the Cowboys.
That was that first final.
Yeah,
30-all, and then they got absolutely hammered by the Rabbits. I think the following week.
Yep. So here we go. So they've conceded 24, 26, 27. Then, if you go back to last year, 38, 32, and so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In their last 5 games, they've conceded over 20 points in all.
Yeah, well, it's at average about 26, 27 points a game, roughly.
So teams are getting 4 or 5 tries on them every game.
Yep.
You can't win like that long term in the NRL.
And that's, again, my concern with Para. They're conceding some points at the moment. They really are. And it doesn't go back to last year because their defence fixed itself up the last month, 6 weeks, and that's why they made the final. But the way they've started the year, the amount of, take away the Melbourne game, then they've conceded 30 points twice, basically, or more.
Who are you looking for going into this next week? We've got Penrith, Parramatta, Storm Tigers, Dolphins, Broncos, Cowboys, Titans, Rabbitohs, Manly, Warriors, Dogs, Knights, Raiders, and Dragons, Sharks. What game intrigues you the most?
I think let's have a quick look at each of them. The first one, Penrith will be a cracker. It's desperation stakes for them. They need a win. So I think they're going to throw everything they've got at Penrith, and we'll see how Penrith are going to be able to respond. But I just see that game going right down to the wire. It could be, again, another golden point game or, 4 points in it. And the games Para's lost have all been by 4 points as well. So they need to find a way to get a win, and I think it starts with conceding less tries.
If Parramatta do go 0-5, they're probably going to have to win 14 out of their last 21 games.
Yeah, which they can do.
They can do. It's the problem for them, though, is Mitch Moses will miss a game here. Dylan Brown will miss a game there. Their spine is intact at the moment.
Yeah.
And they haven't lost any important people yet as far as the spine. They're going to miss games at some stage, and every team does. Do you write them off if they're 0-5?
No, I think you've got to, with the way the comp's set up this year, I think we've got to wait till 10 games in to really get a feel for where things are at. And, if they're 5 from 5, they're a chance. Even 4 from 6, you wouldn't rule them out. Absolutely. But if they hit the round 10 and they're 2 from 10 or 3 from 10, they're gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just can't see them getting out of that.
They have to win games that they have to win. Yeah. Like, they can't afford to drop a game to West Tigers like they did last year, or Bulldogs last year.
That's exactly right. So you think of, if you laid out the full 25 rounds for Para, they would look at, so the 3 games they've played Cronulla, Melbourne, and Manly. I reckon they would have had 1 from 3 as in ink there. Yeah. They probably looked at that Manly game before the season started and thought, we'll definitely win that. Anything more than that we'll take.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're as far behind where they had maybe penciled some stuff in. Of course, they're going to say, we wanted to go 3 from 3 and be leading the comp. But coaches are realistic. They look at a long season and will map out games that they think that they should just put in pen, and these are ones that we're going to win.
Steve, I want you to tell me when the Tigers get their first win.
Okay, who have they got?
So, Storm this week.
No.
Broncos.
No.
Parramatta.
No.
Manly.
No.
Penrith.
No.
St George.
Maybe.
So we're not looking until 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, round 9.
And that's a maybe.
They might not win a game for a long time.
They could go 5 from 5 now. So who have they got after the Dragons?
They've got the bye. They might lose to the bye. The way they're going.
Well, there is a really big chance that they could hit the bye without a win, isn't there? You said it before, but it's realistic.
Do you think Benji regrets his decision?
Oh, do you think the Tigers regret their decision more than Benji regretting a decision?
Well, for the Tigers, it's a case of what else do you do? Who else? Yeah,
that's right. But Tim Sheens hasn't coached in the NRL for 10 years, but he still had been coaching. So
yeah,
he's still coaching the Super League. It's an elite comp. Benji and Robbie Farah, as far as I'm aware, haven't even coached an under-16 side.
That's right.
So that's where the concern is when, for someone who's coached for 10 years, when you lose 3 in a row, things get tough and you start to unravel a little bit. So when you haven't coached a team before at any level and all of a sudden you've lost 3 straight and everyone's into you, it'd be interesting to see how they're reacting.
The Tigers summed up.
It is lucky they've got Sheens there, who's got 50, 70 years of experience.
The Tigers are summed up perfectly by Appy Coruscant on the weekend. Took a quick tap.
Yeah, and he dropped it.
It about 3 metres into a run.
Yeah.
I'm just like, Penrith Appy does not do that.
No.
He holds on to that ball and scores a try.
Penrith Appy's probably not allowed to take a quick tap either.
He's probably just had enough.
It's tap it and pass it to Nathan as quick as you can.
Yes, but I'll tell you what, they could be in for a rough trot, the old West Tigers fans. We'll go on to the next game. Dolphins, Broncos. I do think Broncos are a class above the Dolphins here.
Yeah, they should win.
Yeah.
But the Dolphins should have been beaten in every game that they've played, beforehand when we talk about it. So the game against the Knights really is the only one where people being honest with themselves would have sat back and thought, yeah, the Dolphins probably should win this.
Yeah. There is a couple of psychological things here, though, that if we look back in a week and the Dolphins have beaten the Broncos, we'll go, we should have known.
Yeah.
And that is the fact that, Wayne going back to Brisbane, of course.
Yeah.
And also the fact that the Broncos have brought out this jersey now. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
The
looks ridiculous.
Crazy. But it's just one of those psychological
Oh, yeah.
things
Just wait. What day do you think Bennett will drop some sort of bomb?
Yes. He'll have Peter Bedell ready to go.
Oh, he'll have Bedell, he'll have Crawley, and a couple of the other boys that he likes to ring and plant, pretend stories with, and all of a sudden something will blow up.
Shout out to you, Pete. I know you're ready to go. The other game that interests me is Dragons Cronulla. I give Dragons a hope there, but just purely because of the way Cronulla's defending at the moment.
If Nico Hines is back, I'll go Cronulla.
He is back.
So I'll lean towards Cronulla. If he's out again, I might change it to the Dragons at the last minute. And
we'll finish with Souths and Manly. Like I said before, I really like Manly in this game.
I think Manly win. Yeah, I do. Souths are a little bit down on forwards, and if Manly play with the aggression they've played with the last couple of games, I think they'll win it. Especially if Tommy Turbo continues to play the way he has. It was a little bit like the big kid playing under 10s again last week.
Yeah.
The way he just decided to, I'll score now, so good luck stopping me.
He was right back to that form. Sieves, good to see you. We'll do it again next week.
Thanks, mate.